it's not just a guess. A 2018 survey by the Pew Research Center has found that the physical newspaper is the preferred method of reading the news for just 7% of Americans. Even among the subgroup of people who prefer reading to watching or listening to the news, 63% turn to the web versus 17% who turn to newspapers. I know that the advent of the web and the birth of free classified websites like Craigslist carved away the advertising base of traditional print newspapers and news magazines. Before the internet and the invention of the 24-hour news cycle, subscribers couldn't wait for their news weekly of choice to land in their mailbox. Carefully reported and painstakingly fact-checked, they offered both a recap of the previous week's top events, but also often broke new ground on what to focus on going forward. But these days, Newsweek and U.S. News and World Report, once mighty titans of journalism that shaped the opinions of millions upon millions of Americans and whose cover stories could form the national narrative, now exist only as websites. Time magazine, once the glory of the massive Time Life publishing empire, is a shadow of itself and a whisper in terms of national clout. Newspapers are no longer flush with grocery and department store ads or thick with job and apartment classifieds. In the past, the Sunday Los Angeles Times was so heavy, newspaper carriers supposedly had to make sure it didn't crush small dogs as they flung the paper out of their car windows onto subscribers' lawns. This means that they've been forced to downsize significantly, laying off hundreds of thousands of journalists in recent years. According to an article from the British newspaper The Guardian, newspaper jobs have declined catastrophically from nearly 458,000 in 1990 to about 183,000 in 2016, a fall of almost 60%. The world of traditional network TV no longer exists either. 3 nightly newscasts hosted by 3 powerful anchors no longer set the national agenda. Cable news has exploded, and viewers have a much wider selection to watch. This includes Fox News, which these days I call State TV. The conservative network sets the agenda for the Trump administration and is devoted to disseminating misinformation and terrorizing senior citizens with tales of imaginary caravans filled with Islamic terrorists coming up from Honduras and Guatemala. It's instructive and fun sometimes to flip between Fox News and MSNBC or CNN or even NBC, CBS, and ABC and see the differences in what these outlets consider news and how they cover it. Sometimes what one outlet treats as a national emergency, the caravan of migrants making its way to the U.S. border, is a good example. Others hardly cover it at all. One of the more important subjects not being taught in enough classrooms? Journalistic literacy. People simply read things on the web, Facebook, Twitter, websites, and assume the information is true. Gullible voters were told on Facebook, for example, that Pope Francis had endorsed Donald Trump for U.S. president. Not. In the 2016 presidential election, the Russian government spread false news all over the web, particularly on Facebook and Twitter. With the rapidity and destruction of a raging, uncontrollable wildfire, misinformation spreads across the web, leaving destruction and despair in its wake. Think of all the crazy stories out there like Pizzagate and President Obama not being born in the United States.